Hi there everyone, thanks for checking in. It's Adam here at Low & Co. Today we're looking at the Wellington real estate market, analysing the data for February 2025 versus the last couple of years and looking at the trends and seeing if we can see what's really going on out there according to the facts. So folks, Wellington values have been kind of weak over the last year or so, but in the last month of February we've seen some strength return. Message to sellers is there's still a lot of supply out there, so it is continuing to make it tough, and prices are down compared to a year ago by a little bit. And message to buyers is there is an absolute mountain of choice out there, so get in amongst it and make the most of it. Let's get into the detail. Median sale price, February this year, 2025, 795 versus 799 a year ago, February 2024. That's basically the same, isn't it? But down 1%, neither here nor there. Look, overall, the trend has been broadly stable since about winter, July, August 2022. Up a bit, down a bit, but broadly going sideways, as you can see from the shape of the red line there. If you follow these videos, you'll know I don't pay too much attention to the median sale price because it reflects not just underlying values, but the mix of properties sold during the month. And of course, it's values, underlying values, that we're really interested in as sellers, buyers, and potential sellers and potential buyers. So the best guide to underlying values is the Real Estate Institute House Price Index, in my view. So let's have a look at that, and we'll start here with what I call the league tables. Wellington still has the auspicious privilege of leading the league tables in that we have fallen furthest in value since the absolute peak of the market, which was October 2021. So we've dropped now by 23%. We were down as low as 26% down. We recovered a bit, and then we're down a bit, and then we recovered a bit again. So where we're at now is 23% down versus the peak. Look, compared to the rest of the country, nowhere's fallen that far as Wellington has. Compared to Auckland, not far off at 20.5%, but we're still quite a way, a bigger drop than the country overall at 14.5%. Over the last year, we are no longer the biggest drop in the country, so that's a relief. 3.1% down over the last 12 months versus 3.6% down for Northland. Everywhere else, or most, actually Bay of Plenty there, you can see 3.7% down also. So, you know, we're up there still, but we're not absolutely leading the charge on that front. So that's a nice change for us Wellingtonians. Over the last 3 months, you see there a small gain, which is a reasonably strong result compared to most other parts of the country. Most other parts of the country are a smaller gain than we've enjoyed, so that's positive for us Wellingtonians. Taking a look now at the detail of the Wellington region, you see there 1.9% up over the last month, 0.9% over the last 3 months. Look at the shape of the graph there. The orange line shows you the 3-month cumulative change. So you see throughout 2024, we saw quite a bit of weakness, especially during the winter time there. As we entered the end of the year, we sort of saw a bit of strength come back. Then right at the end of December, weakness, and January weak again. In February, a bit of a recovery. So it has been bouncing around over the last 12 months or so. But you can see from the shape of the graph there, a bit of recovery in February after weakness for a couple of months before that. Over the last 12 months, generally weak across most Wellington territorial authorities to varying degrees, from 5.6% down in Porirua to barely down 0.4% in Upper Hutt City over the last 12 months. Over the last 3 months, generally a bit of recovery to varying degrees depending on where you're talking about. A 2.5% gain in Lower Hutt to a 3.7% reduction, a falling in values in Porirua over the last 3 months. Let's look in particular at Wellington City. So you can see there by the shape of the graph, it's much more erratic, much more variability there, more of a sawtooth pattern, more ups, more downs. The ups tend to be higher, the peaks, the troughs tend to be a bit lower. You can see there again from the shape of the orange graph, same general trend in terms of the pattern with Wellington region, just a bit more accentuated. So recovery in February after a couple of weak months, and we saw some recovery late-ish in 2024. But you see there, look, over the last year, just over 4% down. Over the last 3 months, 1.1% up, and after in February alone, 2.6% up for Wellington City. So that's positive news. Is that a trend? Too early to say yet, of course. How many listings coming to the market? So 939 new listings in February versus 927 a year ago. So that's basically the same, 1% up, versus 525 2 years ago. So a massive increase over 2 years ago, 75% more, basically the same as what we saw a year ago. And again, you look at the shape of the graph there, look at the red line in particular, that's the 6-month average. So we saw big increases generally in the new supply coming to market in 2024 until about the middle of the year. Then we saw new supply really dropping away there, and over the last couple of months a big recovery again. And you see those blue bar charts, a lot of listings coming to market again in January and February. And if you look at the February number there at 939, it's significantly higher than what we typically see in a February, which is 861. So not only have we seen new listings increase again in recent months, they have increased to the point where we're actually bringing more stock to the market than is typical for this time of the year. So that's good news for buyers, not great news for sellers, because it means as a seller you're competing with more new listings. And there it is in a different format. This is comparing the new listings compared to 12 months ago. Is it more above the line or is it less below the line? So you can see there in February there, you can hardly see even anything there at all, because it's basically the same as a year ago. Number of sales, 622 in February versus 688 a year ago and 464 2 years ago. So a bit of a reduction, about 10% down compared to a year ago, significantly more, 34% more compared to 2 years ago. So not quite as strong as last February on the number of sales front. But if you look at the overall trend there, this is what I'm encouraged by. Generally, we're seeing a very gentle, a gradual but quite a consistent increase in the number of sales taking place. Over the last 4 to 6 months, perhaps, we're seeing a little bit of a plateauing there. Ordinarily in Wellington, as you can see there, look at that red line, we're hitting between 600 and 800 broadly sales per month. We've just in the last sort of 4 to 6 months gotten back up to about that 600 per month level. So we have been increasing gradually and steadily off a very low base, but nonetheless has been going in the right directions. Still at relatively low levels though. So you see, compared to what's normal in February at 719, 622 still significantly below what's normal there. Moving on to how long is it taking to sell? So 45 days, median days to sell in February versus 40 a year ago and 49 2 years ago. So a bit longer than a year ago, not quite as long as 2 years ago. Compared to what's normal in February over the last 10 years or so, 39 days is normal, so 45 days, still quite long compared to historical norms. A lot shorter than what we saw in January at 59 days, but January is an unusual month for duration to sell, so I would throw that one out. Compared to over the last 12 months or so, 45 days is roughly there or thereabouts, so no great change there over recent history. Inventory, how many weeks worth of supply have we got on the market? So 15 weeks in February versus 13 weeks a year ago and 15 weeks 2 years ago, so exactly the same as 2 years ago and a bit more than 1 year ago. 15 weeks, as it happens, is exactly the long-term average amount of inventory in Wellington. However, over the last 10 years, 10 weeks has been the average, and so where we are now at 15, even though we're at long-term averages, and on that basis, therefore, it's a normal market. It doesn't feel normal because it's been 10 weeks is what is normal over the last 10 years or so. So it feels much more of a buyer's market compared to the last 10 years or so. Number of listings on Trade Me, 3,420 as of a couple of days ago as we're recording this, versus 29.23 a year ago, 28.25 2 years ago. So significantly more than we saw either a year ago and 2 years ago. And again, you look at that graph, we are at enormous levels of inventory compared to the last 10 years. More inventory in Wellington on Trade Me than we have seen at any time since way back in April 2015. So almost 10 years exactly it has been since we've had more supply than this. So Message to buyers again, this is a consistent message. It's a fantastic time to be looking. You've got an enormous amount to choose from out there, so I encourage you to make the most of it. And there it is in another form. We're still, the amount of supply on the market is still significantly more than a year ago in Wellington region. So in summary, folks, Wellington values are down versus 12 months ago by a little bit, but most recently in February, they are up a bit. New listings are about the same as 12 months ago and up to quite strong levels of new listings coming to the market compared to what's normal for February. Sales volumes were down by a bit versus 12 months ago and still quite low for February, despite the fact that over the last 2 years we've seen a gradually increasing number of sales taking place. Duration to sell is still quite long by historical norms. Inventory is back to normal at 15 weeks, but it's long compared to what over the last 10 years of 10 weeks. Trade Me listings are up, and we've got the most stock on Trade Me that we've seen at any time since April 2015. So the message to sellers is that values are higher in February, but still lower than they were a year ago. And buyers' message to you guys is, as I keep saying, there's a massive amount of supply out there. It's a fantastic opportunity for you to go out there and make the most of these conditions while they last, with such a huge amount to choose from out there for you. So big thanks, of course, as always, to Real Estate Institute and realestate.co.nz for the data. Thanks for checking in. If you want individual advice, of course, just reach out. Happy to help. It's Adam at Low & Co. Thanks, and see you next month.